a lot of other places that as they begin to panic and they raise as the situation gets worse.
Yeah.
You know,
You try to get ahead of it.
so I take the impact. I tell them it's okay. It'll eat from our blood for a while, but until we feel it stabilizes, and then we change.
Welcome to the Lighthouse Conversations, a podcast featuring entrepreneurs and tastemakers from the world of arts, culture, tech, and of course food. I'm your host, Hashem. If you're joining us for the first time today, hit the follow button in your podcast player to get alerted when we have new episodes, which is typically every other week. You can listen to our extensive catalog of previous episodes on our website, thelighthouse.ae/podcast. We feature some amazing guests, by the way, including Fadi Ghandour, founder of Aramex, Nada Debis, the ladies behind Boksha, and so many others. So please go have a look. I think you'll enjoy it. Now, let's move to today. This is very exciting. I'm joined today by Ayman Baky, someone who can be described as the person responsible in really changing the fine dining culture in Egypt. His restaurants, Kazoku, a contemporary Japanese experience, Sachi, a Mediterranean fusion, and the Cairo chapter of my son's personal favorite, Reif Kushiyaki, are all in the top 50 restaurants of the region, according to the latest list by MENA's 50 Best. In fact, Ayman won 4 different awards in MENA's 50 Best. I'll be very honest, I don't find that all that surprising. Ayman's success comes from a keen eye, a strong understanding of restaurant operations, as hard as that is, and the grit that kept him going over and over again until his name became synonymous with the Egyptian restaurant scene. I also found Ayman honest about his origins, how he started, the mistakes he made, and why he kept getting up. Ayman, what a pleasure to have you here.
The pleasure's mine. I never expected to come here, to be honest.
Me neither. I'm glad you're here. I haven't seen you in quite some time, so we did a bit of catching up.
Yeah, we did.
Which is nice.
By the way, the coffee in Lighthouse was fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to start by saying I'm very proud of you. Haven't seen you for a while, but very proud of what you've done.
Thank you.
And really, and I'm not just saying that, and I usually don't start like that, but I wanted to say that on the record because whenever I go back, and I go back quite often, and you've opened a new restaurant, that's where all my friends want to take me. And and also similarly, some of my non-Egyptian friends, when they go to Egypt, that's also where everyone wants to take them. So it's a testament to what you've built. And I know that a lot of it has been a lot of hard work, obviously, but also an organic evolution over time. And I was doing some research before we had our podcast today, and it feels very organic and it feels very you, which is nice. So let me just start, because back in the day when you were growing up, you were always interested in nightlife, and that was obviously where you started. And then you shifted and you started moving into restaurants. So just walk us a bit through, was that a conscious choice or just, again, an organic evolution over time?
And after I graduated from AUC in 1996, back then the trend was you need to work in a multinational company. So I tried to get into Pepsi. Back then, it was Click, Mobinil, Coca-Cola. I think I was unlucky. I didn't get the job. And then I got a job in Orascom to work in Guna, based in Cairo, but as a marketing executive for Guna. Worked with them for 4 or 5 years, and then moved to Sony Music International. And I just had this feeling, and I don't want to be an employee. I just don't want
like the corporate world
at all.
I
had to hold on because this was my only source of income. I used to live in Kuwait, and I came after the war to Egypt. So it was kind of a struggle for me to start in Egypt and to
build a network.
Yeah. While I was in university, I was doing small events on the side to make some cash. And my first event, I had 400 people. My second event, I had 1,000. And then I started going into the underground events, getting DJs from abroad and stuff. And 4,000 or 5,000 people by coming to the event. And this is where the people began to know me.
Yeah,
in the events.
I remember that.
Yeah.
You made a name for yourself.
Yes. So, and from there, after 4 or 5 years of doing these events, I said, it's about time to take it to the next level. So I want to do my own place. But I want to do a bar. I don't want to do a restaurant, a resto bar. So I did my first place that I opened was in 2002. It's called White. And it didn't work out very well. It closed down after a year. And then I went into partnership in Aubergine in Zamalek. Stayed there for 5 years.
It's a staple.
Aubergine was a very old,
Yeah.
scruffy, wooden, trashy bar.
I know it very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I told them if I come in, I'll take, let's say, 25%. I'll do the investment as part of my spending, but we'll change the concept into a more of a bistro style. And we redesigned the place. And if they were doing 10, we're doing 30. Until I got to know my partners in Tamarai, and I wanted to move into fine dining.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we took off on the wrong leg. Food wasn't that great. Service wasn't that great. The place we had already invested back then in 2009, 15 million Egyptian pounds in Tamarai and in Al Towers.
Money.
And we had to make it work. So it began to shift from a restaurant into
Nightlife. I remember that, yeah.
And to be honest, we were making very good money. And we were up there. Everyone wants to come, and we're standing on the door, choosing people who to come and who not, exclusive events, New Year's, blah, 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 DJs. And going home at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning every day, it was very hectic.
Exhausting.
Until I got hit with the revolution in 2011. And I saw on CNN, actually, the Nile Towers being destroyed. I took a pause in 2011 after all this, and I said, this nightlife business is not
sustainable.
One is not sustainable. I had just had my daughter and son, and I don't want the kids to grow up knowing that their father is a club owner.
Interesting. From a moralistic perspective or from a lifestyle perspective, or so what was, because I understand the concern, but I'm just curious.
During the revolution, I reflected very much on my past. And something inside of me was fighting the fact that I'm in the wrong business. So I began to sit down with mentors, priests, go to church, ask, what am I doing is correct or not yet? But the answer that I got was, no one gave me a straightforward answer. At the end of the day,
your life ultimately.
Yeah. So you're not doing anything wrong. The behavior of the people inside the place is their problem. It's not yours. But yet again, the platform is there to make them go wild and have a good time. I began to read. And then I decided I don't want to do this anymore. Plus, it's not sustainable. And I have to keep getting food on the table for the kids and living properly. But I don't have an idea. So I just let it go, sink in for a while, for 2 years. And I began to monitor the behavior of the people in the streets, because during that time, in 2011 and 12 and 13, it was turmoil in Egypt. But the amount of coffee shops that were opening on every single corner was humongous. And they're all full. It alarmed me, which means people really want to go out. Yeah, but they want to sit and have shisha or eat. This is something else, And the security of the country changed the behavior also of people commuting from neighborhood to neighborhood. So if you recall, we used to go out in Zamalek and Mohandesin.
Yeah.
So the people in Maadi, currently after the revolution, go out only in Maadi.
That's both. Heliopolis and Heliopolis,
Heliopolis, and Heliopolis never had a proper place, ever.
I remember that. And post-revolution, even the places and other places that were working had been vanished or destroyed or whatever. So there's very, very little. I mean, I remember coming back post-revolution and seeing so few varieties outside of traditional coffee shops.
Nothing.
Nothing.
So I said, okay, I had done a few mistakes in the first 2 years. I panicked. While I was reflecting on my past, I had a little bit of cash. I wanted to. I was very scared when the Muslim Brotherhood were taking the lead. So I did a small investment here in Dubai, got ripped off. Did a small investment in Athens, also didn't work out. So basically, I lost the money I did in the nightlife business. It also alarmed me that
You panicked.
I said, "Khalas, I'll start doing a rest. I look, and I took a loan. My dad was in Saudi. He's a doctor in Saudi Arabia. He had just come out of cancer. I told him, Khalas, I think you need to
Rest.
come back. Enough. So yeah, I told him come back and we'll do the company together. So he came back. So I did Baky Hospitality, and I started looking for a place in Korba. And I said I'm going to work on doing a nice concept for the Heliopolis people. I am pretty well connected in Heliopolis.
You grew up in Heliopolis.
I grew up in Heliopolis, and I live in Heliopolis.
No one would ever dare do that there if you hadn't grown up there.
Yeah, exactly. You have to know the location, the people. So I logged on to LinkedIn and I began to look for chefs. I met Tommy and I sent him a message and he replied and he came to Egypt. Gave him an overview of what I want to do. I know the Egyptians like meat and they like sushi. So I said, I'm going to do a Mediterranean fusion concept. Back then we were 30 employees nearly only.
And just to put this in perspective, and today you are?
600.
Amazing. Amazing.
So we worked on the food concept and the beverage concept, and we designed the place with Alchemy, also a very reputable
interior designer.
Yeah, interior designer. And I said, Khalas, let's go for it. It's a small place, 80 seats, no outdoor area, under a residential building. Rent was okay. I had to pay my loans, and it worked. It worked.
You had already at that point opened a couple of concepts, and I'm kind of impressed by how, you're very openly saying, this didn't work. And obviously today I think you can afford to say this, which is great. But surely you still went back to do more. Obviously, a refined concept at that point. You refined your ideas. What had you learned from the previous mistakes? What was things you didn't want to do this time around? Beyond not being in nightlife, because it still had alcohol and still had a bar and all of that. So what do you feel held you back the first few times when you were younger that worked this time?
Yeah, well, definitely. I had to set a pace and mood for the place to keep the people sitting down, eating, music level low, enjoying their meal, focusing on the service, focusing on the product, and not focusing on the entertainment. For any time the music goes up a little bit, I put it down. And I don't want to turn the place into a party place.
Yeah.
And this is my struggle till today.
I was going to say, how do you do that with it? Because people...
I want that, but there's a lot of pressure from the customers that we want. And
this is, frankly, from my own experience, a testament also to an interior and a mood you set, which is very inviting. So I think people get excited.
They get excited.
And therefore they want to get in the mood of, partying, celebrating, out and about. The Egyptians, of course, were all very social anyway to start with.
Exactly.
But can you fight against that trend, or just say, what the customer wants, the customer gets? And
no, I fight.
You do.
Still. I fight.
That's so interesting.
And my whole team fights.
Interesting.
So there's no pressure from the team at all, and the only pressure we get are from our customers and the landlords. Okay, some landlords are okay with the idea of no loud music, and other landlords want attraction.
They want attraction.
The opening of Sachi in 2014 shocked me because I found people coming from different neighborhoods and the place was fully booked for
months
and probably the first year and a half.
I remember.
Yeah,
I remember.
And I was like, what the hell is happening? I was shocked there. And I found people coming from Zamalek, Muhandisin, Maadi, New Cairo, 6th of October,
You
Garden
changed
City.
behavior.
In the history of Egypt, never
Yeah,
ever
I was going
had
to say.
anyone going out in Heliopolis.
You became a destination restaurant, which in Dubai is quite common for really well-known restaurants. Unheard of in Egypt, in Cairo.
No, unheard of.
And I
Unheard.
growing up there all my life, there was no such thing as destination.
Yeah. Now, there was in Zamalek, if you remember, there was sangria, there was...
True. I mean, because I lived in Zamalek, so it wasn't a destination for me, but you're right. People came to a few, but very, very few. And also the choices were very limited anyway.
And the idea is not this, and the idea is Heliopolis attracting people. It was any concept that opened in Heliopolis always failed. And I was worried, to be honest, but I had no other option. People wanted to go out in Heliopolis. Khalas, I'm going to focus on the Heliopolis people. This is where. And the Heliopolis people made the place where work until the reputation of the place began to grow and people began to come and see the experience.
And I don't know if this was part of your calculation, but if you look at the demographics of Cairo, it's also very smart because Heliopolis always had a level of wealth and was completely underserved.
Yeah, but Heliopolis people always looked down for
exactly.
Exactly.
But for you, from a restaurant perspective, you don't care.
It's not true, man. This concept is just there in your head. Yeah.
It's sort of...
And I just wanted to open one restaurant. I told my dad, we're just going to open one restaurant. We're going to make it work. We're going to put food on the table for you and mom and me and the kids and Tina. And that's it, you know, and just sustain it. Well, I don't want to grow. I don't want to do anything. Unfortunately, but this is where the devil comes in. But and when you do something right in Egypt,
everybody comes to you.
Everybody comes to you. I've been rejecting. لغاية لما I met Muhammad Alem, who's the Hassan Alem properties.
Developers.
And the developers and in Swan Lake. I knew during that time that there is a shift from Heliopolis to New Cairo area. A lot of people are moving out. And I know my client actually were going to be there. So he came and told me, I have this clubhouse and I want to do a clubhouse. So I'm not going to do a clubhouse. You know, the Atame Heights clubhouse and serve pizzas and club sandwiches and stuff. I'm not going to do that. If you want, we'll do something crazy. And what do you want to do? I just came back from Mykonos. There's a beautiful restaurant in a hotel called Nobo in the Belvedere. If you have a chance to take your wife and go and have a good time, see the setup, we'll do something like that. But Egyptianized. And then apparently he went and he came back after summer. I mean, what do you mean? Khalas, we're going to do a Japanese. And he would do a Japanese. There's no clubhouse, no pool, no nothing, no kids running around, nothing. Yes, I'm in. And then we started working on the financials. This is where I was probably the first person in the F&B industry to do the capex funding.
I remember that.
And unfortunately, I learned from my first deal with Hassan Alem and
refined the model since.
I refined the model because he said, Ali, I will. You guys do the kitchen, I'll do the interior. So
kitchen's the most expensive part.
خلاص fine, ماشي.
Yeah, we all learned.
I learned from that. For now, I've remodeled our contracts and I moved forward. And I did this Kazoku, and Kazoku is like 180 seats. Indoor, outdoor. Now we did an extension, so it's 300 seats now. And I told the guys when we first hired the staff, I told them, I don't want you to lose hope. This is the future. Maybe we came too early in the first settlement in New Cairo, but hold your horses.
You didn't have to hold any horses.
That's the thing.
You thought you were holding the horses. There was nothing to hold.
We opened 1st of December.
I remember.
Fully booked. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
People are coming all over the place, you know. Sachi's fully booked, Kazoku's fully booked. What's happening?
Yeah. You changed, I think, the whole perception of how people were dining in Egypt, honestly. And I'm not saying this in any way it's true. And I don't know if you were aware of it while you were doing it, or you were just sort of trying to do something that is a winning concept.
No, I wasn't aware of it.
But even the food made a lot of sense because Japanese food and so on, you know, it's It's the right kind of atmosphere and food to go. It's not a heavy meal, not a
No, it's
hearty
not.
meal that kind of
No,
weighs you down.
that's it. It's a sharing concept
Sharing
kind of thing.
concept, social.
Social, nice. The location is big. Parking is available. Beautiful greenery area outdoors. So
So it was an organized way of thinking about restaurants. It
it
wasn't
was. I think personally, I think it was very risky.
no, of course it was very risky.
And
We're saying this today. I mean, hindsight.
And it was funny. It was funny.
And we were reflecting earlier when we were sitting at the lighthouse, and you were saying, when you first opened here, I mean, and now, I talk about this all the time. I think I was a lunatic. You know what I mean? Like there was not Dubai Design District, completely new district, no one here.
It was empty when I came.
Completely empty. فيعني in retrospect, total lunacy. But I think that's part of the business. We'll hear more from Ayman, including how he's exploring a new category within hospitality. All that and more right after the short break. Welcome back. I'm Hashem, and you're listening to the Lighthouse Conversations with our guest, Ayman Baky. I want to just talk about a few things. One is what struck me when I came to some of your establishments was not just how welcoming they were. It was clearly that the operational part, and maybe this is somebody that's now also in the similar business or same business, so I look at this kind of stuff. Your team looked very well organized, very professional, and it was obvious that this is an operation that's very tight. That's a huge challenge for someone in this business. I know for us, the biggest challenge is operational. How was that a conscious decision to build a grassroots operational process and supply chain and all of that the way you have? Because that's something you've built that looks to me like building blocks for growth, not for a one-off or a two-off. Was that conscious, or again, just you're an organized person and you did it the right way and it just grew?
Let me tell you something, because in most of the restaurants and nightlife and bars and stuff that I did, I had partners with me. I was handling the operation.
So you're always an operations guy.
I was the operation guy. And when I began Baky Hospitality, a lot of my staff came with me. And they've been with me for years. And I have the bar manager's been with me for 20 years now.
That's amazing.
He speaks like me.
Yeah.
He dresses like me.
I did notice a lot of them did look like you. They're tattooed and they walk like you. Exactly. And like they're mini Aymans.
And to be honest, I had to start thinking when we opened our third and fourth and fifth, I began to hire very good people as well in the HQ office.
It's the only way to sustain your operation.
And I wanted these guys to feel very proud that they're working in this company. So I had to give them a different setting in terms of office, in terms of packages, in terms of bonuses, in terms of medical insurance, in terms of way of living.
How many people at HQ admin ops versus on the field? Or percentage-wise, I'm just trying to get a sense.
We have around 70 people in the office.
Okay, so it's a big office.
All different departments, طبعا. Of course, the supply chain, to finance, to HR, to marketing, to logistics, to quality control. We have 7 doctors moving around. Each doctor is moving around, making sure the quality is okay. We have also in the industrial area, we have a central kitchen where we do our butchery over there.
Smart.
Yeah. That's it.
So this is the key. See, now I've put my finger on it. You're an ops guy that looks like this. So
I'm sorry.
You're able to marry the two. You're strong at the ideation concept development, but obviously you have a very strong operational sense. Even the way you speak about the operation, someone in control. And I think that's essentially what F&B really is.
If you have this,
yeah.
Because you need to have loyal staff members. Yeah. I treat my staff as family, and we're very proud of that, because the turnover, Andy, very, very little, by the way. And the turnover in this business is very high.
Super high.
Yeah.
Even turnover at the staff level in the restaurants is low?
5%.
That's amazing.
Whoever comes in doesn't go out.
Wow.
And this is something I'm going to face 10 years from now. Is going to be a problem, because they're going to start getting older.
And you move them to HQ.
And then
Well, you have to start a new country then. I mean, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Basically, I going back to the expansion, I had no plan to expand, but unfortunately, I had to start thinking of expansion because the tree is blocked and people want to grow, and if they don't grow, they're going to leave. So I had to keep on opening when I get an opportunity that I'm convinced with, opening more restaurants to open up more spaces for people to grow within the HQ and within the operation of the restaurants. Because if I don't, خلاص, I have to show them the roadmap. So you're thinking of 600 people, how they're going to grow yearly.
Yeah, and commercially, it makes sense. Economies of scale. I mean,
Yeah, but sometimes you sit there and you say, you know what? I'm very happy.
Yeah.
I don't want to move.
I know the feeling.
Yeah,
I know the feeling. Yeah,
I'm very content.
yeah. I do not want another opening.
I
Yeah.
don't need,
Yeah.
but I have to.
But I feel like now you own the idea that this is no longer will be a small shop with just a couple of restaurants. You're building it now as if it's a proper organization that's going to grow. Maybe you can control the pace, maybe 1 year more, 1 year less.
Yes.
But so that is, I think, khalas. That's now been in your head
Khalas.
solidified.
Yeah,
And
especially after we got international recognition and awards, puts more responsibility on our shoulder.
to be the go-tos in Egypt.
Yeah, to perform better, to grow properly.
Another
plan.
part that when I was doing my research that looked very organic to me was sort of the lifestyle element to it. A lot of people use the word lifestyle. Sort of annoys me because a lot of people use it and I find they abuse it a little bit. You know, they want to use the word lifestyle. But when I looked at your brands and I've been to some of the restaurants, but even at you as a person, I feel it's very organic. Once again, yani, it seems to come very natural to your playlists, your music, your, you know, maybe eventually going to. So are you leaning more? I saw you put something about potentially boutique hotels. And so are you looking to kind of now take this brand and maybe move into various verticals, sort of more like a Soho house? Or will you always just want to stay in F&B pure restaurants and restaurants?
Let me tell you, no, I'm not going to do a social house or anything, no. But again, we've been doing the same thing for the past 8 years, opening up restaurants. Like I said, I want to move to the next level. I want something more challenging. I want something new. I want to learn something new. You know,
Of course.
we're still young. We still have the energy. Like I said, we were going into the catering, but we put everything on hold given the financial crunch that we're going through. And we just signed with Hassan Alam also in Swan Lake in Sheikh Zayed. They're doing a compound called Swan Lake West, and he wanted to open Kazoku there. I told him, I'm not doing any more restaurants. If we want to do something, we do a concept, a hotel, 80 rooms that is F&B driven.
Fantastic.
And we have 3 places in there that are hot. Minhum Kazoku, we can put Kazoku there. So this drives traffic on a crystal lagoon, 80 rooms with a small jacuzzi and a private pool for the 80 rooms.
But you will be involved in the room, in the hospitality part as well, not just the F&B part.
No, the whole operation.
project, yeah.
The whole operation. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, this is something that we're really looking into. And to be honest, now given the devaluation of the dollar, of the Egyptian pound, and the financial crisis now and everything, it's beginning to tickle me to move out of Egypt, to open something outside of Egypt. Yeah. Where, how, when, I don't know. It will come. Opportunities come and
You
go.
said it here first, so whoever listens to this can call you and
No, I have no plans for it, but you know, I just wait for opportunities. Yeah.
So when you're dreaming today, what is that? Is it about boutique hotels? Is it about going outside of Egypt? Is it a combination? What gets you excited when you're just sort of thinking freely?
To be honest, the only thing that currently is getting us all excited in the company is the hotel. Yeah. So we're in the planning phase currently, and we're coming up with ideas, traveling and seeing new hotels.
And what's the vibe you're after?
Very similar. I don't want to. When I walked into 25 hours,
You felt that was, you were
I
telling me
felt
earlier.
not the decoration.
Okay.
I'm talking
The
about
vibe.
the vibe.
Mm.
Decoration is going to be different.
Co-working space, shwaya, that kind of feel, young
music,
people, energetic.
art, culture, working space, F&B, butlers, hospitality, technology.
So maybe a bit of the feel that you see when you go into places like Soho House.
More or less.
Yeah.
More or
You
less.
walk in, it has that kind
Yes, more or
of
less.
energy.
Yeah.
Given what you've just alluded to, and what's happening in Egypt now, I mean, what are the challenges? I would imagine on the supply chain side, the challenging being draconian, huge.
We have a few challenges, of course, but these challenges have been there for the past nearly a year and a half now. And to be honest, we do not import on our license. We deal with suppliers who import. These suppliers, there are a few companies that closed down.
Yeah, struggling.
And there's no importation, so there's no raw material. What we said, we have to start improvising, improvising with local product. And fish, the fish and meat, we don't have an issue with, but I'm talking about the dry products, alcohol, big issues. So we're improvising on our dishes using local ingredients, so you don't see the major change in taste. Okay, things that we can't get, we take off the menu.
Take off the menu.
Khalas, it's over. Price increase also is a big challenge for us.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. How do you, because you can't pass on 100% price increase.
No.
Yeah.
In 2022, we did twice. We raised the prices. A lot of other places did, as they begin to panic, and they raise as the situation gets worse.
Yeah. You try to get ahead of it.
So I take the impact. I tell them it's okay. It'll eat from our blood for a while, but until we feel it stabilizes, and then we change. So, and what drives me, going back to your question, is seeing my staff grow and giving them positions, giving them responsibilities. Eventually, my dream is that the whole company and establishments can work without my presence. And if that happens, that's an accomplishment.
It's not an easy thing, because I feel like a lot of it is modeled after your persona.
Correct. And that's why I'm telling you, the people in the HQ, some of them have been with me for 14 years. Some of them have been with me for 7 and 5 and 3. They're responsible, to be honest.
You know what struck me when I went to some of your restaurants? It struck me that there even might be like a B2B opportunity, as almost like a finishing school. You go to all these restaurants and hotels in Egypt, and really they're just not trained. And your staff was so significantly different that maybe there's an opportunity to, literally kind of build that for others, because they're not able to do it. And this is a problem that you have not just in Egypt. You have in a lot of places. We face it here as well. I mean, training and development is a science. And people think, I'm going to get a waiter and he or she is good looking and good with guests and friendly. Yes, that's great, but that's not enough.
That's not enough.
And you clearly have put a lot of effort in training and development. So walk me through that effort. Is that led by you? Do you have a team that looks into it, that goes from location to location, spotting the teams, spotting the issues? Or is it the managers that are empowered to do that? How do you do it?
Like I said, I was on top of things, and when I first started, and as we began to grow, one of the managers, I promoted him to food and beverage manager, and then now he's the general manager. Also AUCian, young at heart, half French, half Egyptian. I have the marketing team, the F&B team. The F&B, I have them split. I have the food and I have the beverage. So I have a culinary manager and I have a beverage director. So I don't have, and then the operation department, I have 3 people in the operation department who lead the managers in the restaurants.
And do they just do periodic training, or how does it work?
Training is done through HR.
Okay.
And in our new office that we just moved in Korba, we have a classroom. So we do all our trainings in the classroom over there. Most of the trainings are easily done because like I said, when a new place opens, we take the best players, put them here.
Put them there. You see.
So I begin to seed here, and then suddenly, everyone's talking the same. Everyone's
talking like you.
Everyone's working the same. Everyone's doing exactly the same. Plus, they all have to revert to HQ with the finance, with the supply chain, with the procurement, with the quality control, F&B. We're always hands-on. We don't leave the restaurants. Every day we go out. Every day. It's very tiring.
What is your typical day? Are you out in the field all day? And I mean, you also have a big night operation. So how do you manage that, and then you talked earlier about how kind of when you had children, give you a bit of food for thought. I mean, how do you manage that?
I try as much as possible to. First of all, I don't go out anywhere in Egypt, but in my restaurants,
Okay.
which is not good, yani, because I need to go see what's happening.
Yeah, but I
You
mean,
know, office in the morning from around 11 till 5, home from 5 to 7, and
you go
then restaurant hopping, but
for the
5 days
rest.
a week.
Wow.
Yeah, Sunday, Monday are the slow
Slower.
nights, so it takes take them back.
It doesn't take a toll on you mentally,
It does, of course.
but you're energized.
I'm energized. Seeing people enjoying their time in the restaurant is ecstasy.
Yeah. So you feed off that. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's very obvious. That you
It's
feed off
beautiful.
that. I have one last question about your operations. It's just so fascinating. Technology obviously now is a big part of that. We see it, from ordering to, scanning to pay to. How have you factored that into your business and your operations? Or is that something you think about?
Not yet, to be honest.
Okay.
We're just still doing the basic, yeah.
Because we feel like here we're seeing more and more of this. مثلا احنا all our restaurants now you can scan to pay, and in a few weeks we're going to have full ordering from your phone, so you can order everything if you want. I mean, there's still waiters there. They're walking you through the menu. They're telling you the specials, all of that. But if you want to come in every day and you know exactly what you're having for lunch, you can order on your phone. You can pay on your phone. You can leave a tip on your phone. You can even split the bill on your phone.
I know this is where the future is going.
Yeah.
But again, the sense of the experience of sitting down.
You have to be careful. Yeah.
And having the menu and going through the menu and reading and having the waiter explain the dishes. That's part of the fun.
صح.
You know,
especially in the more fine dining.
Especially in the fine dining, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
In my restaurants, unless there's something casual. And with Reif, maybe we can think of something like that. The one in Waterway.
Yeah, I think with Reif it would. I don't know if he has it here, but it would make sense. How was Reif received? I know you've worked with him on some of your own restaurants as well, but when you put his brand in Cairo, because people don't know him or the brand as much.
They don't.
Egyptians that live in the UAE, maybe.
They don't. They don't. But when we signed a culinary advisor contract for 3 years, he was there.
Yeah.
The people who understand food understand him and respect him very much. The Reif concept in Egypt is still growing on the econ, because it's very new to them, and we're seeing it also organically growing on its own. We're focusing on our service, our food, our hospitality, and it will come.
Yeah, no, it will definitely come.
It will come. It will have its time.
It was actually quite funny. It's one of my son's favorite restaurants here in Dubai. So whenever he has an occasion, he asks to go there, and I take him there. And if he's a friend, obviously. So one night we went there, and I was taking pictures of the dessert. I think it was a chocolate lava cake. And my nephew, who lives in Cairo, was at Reif Cairo, complete by chance. We took the same picture of the same dessert.
Are you serious?
And on the family group, I'm sending, because we always exchange food pictures. I'm sending our pictures. Hussein is sending his pictures.
And they're both the same.
And they were the same. And it was one of these
checkmate.
Exactly, checkmate moments. And literally the same night. So I actually shared the story with him, and it tells you something about, good food.
Yeah.
It travels well, and it was interesting. We both had a delightful experience in two completely different cities.
Yeah. Reif is doing well. And Egypt لسه فيه potential huge. لسه كمان we're talking about the new capital, and once it's complete, there's huge investments happening there. Yeah.
And I know you've looked at some pop-ups in the North Coast and so on. Do you see more of that as you venture into maybe seasonal cities?
Yes.
Are you comfortable with the pop-up concept in general? Is it a lot of work for?
It is a lot of work
because for a shorter season, yeah.
But I don't like to stretch our muscle too much. And when we open, we like to focus. The full company focuses on this place.
I see.
What we have now, which is the trend, that many people are opening 5-6 places in Sahel. But opening 5-6 places in the North Coast, even if they're 3 or 4, it's a lot of work. I don't know how they do it yet.
Ayman, thank you. This has been delight.
No,
Mabruk. Very
really.
proud of you.
No, thank you.
And
I'm very happy to be here, to be honest, and share my history and my experience. Again, I'm very thankful from God that I've reached this stage.
a lot of people know your name, and a lot of not just Egyptians that live here, but I'm not sure how many know the story. So I feel like this is, and that's why I wanted to do this, to be honest, is I really feel they need to know this full story, because it's never just glory, right?
No, it's
And
not.
people look at social media and they look at websites and they kind of think that people are just kind of planted and they're successful overnight. And
Yeah.
most certainly not an F&B, but in most businesses, there's always a story.
There is always a story. There's always a hidden story, and there's always a reason and a purpose why we were put in
So
in this job that we're doing.
if there's someone that's starting his own F&B business today, like you many years ago, what would be the one trait you feel they need to have? What's the one trait that if somebody would come to you, let's say, and tell you back me for a new concept, what would be the one trait you'd look for in this person? I'll tell you mine.
Passion
Yeah,
and wisdom
interesting.
and honesty.
Okay, yeah, I think honestly, let's assume that's a given. The wisdom part, but like if you're 25, I mean, is it reasonable to assume wisdom?
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
So you mean like even keeled person, like yani somebody who is like balanced.
Very important.
Okay. What about grit? Because you have a lot of grit.
Do you think?
I think so, for sure. Even when you're telling the story now, I was sort of thinking about it because you were saying such matter of factly that you started this place and then didn't work out, but then I started this place, it didn't work out. Then I started this third place, it worked out, but not quite as I wanted. And then finally I started this. And as you were saying this, I was thinking, damn, he was still going. Like I would have at like Tamarai level been like, screw it, khalas, I'll go back to Pepsi.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
definitely grit. I don't know if you see it, but I definitely see it. Definitely grit.
You know why? Because when you love something, you just keep going.
Yeah, you have,
You know?
I think, this entrepreneurial optimism, which I think you're right, is
Yeah.
necessary, or else you would never survive in this business. But I think also grit.
Also, bear in mind when you're going through a financial crunch,
Yeah.
you have to take decisions.
Quickly.
You have to take risks. You know?
Yeah, but I think the risks you have today are very different than then. I mean,
Completely different.
yeah, but so Naharda, I'm sure, and I can see that obviously having 600 people, that is your responsibility. That weighs on you. You feel responsible for them. I completely understand that feeling.
This is weight
That's
on my
good.
on my
Akid.
heart. Weight on my heart.
Akid. But it shows that you're a responsible entrepreneur. But it's a different weight, even though I'm not belittling it in any way, maybe even more so, but then I could go bust. Yani, or, I might not survive till the winter.
During COVID, 4 months, we closed down.
Yeah.
Many restaurants closed down.
We closed for 6.
You closed for 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah, that's
It was the most nerve-wracking. I'd wake up in the morning, and there was a moment, that's for a different story, but when we actually were going to give back the keys, and I told my partner, Hani, that you met, we agreed, we told our shareholders, and then I woke up the next day, and I could barely get out of bed, and I felt and I called them up first thing in the morning, 6 in the morning, I said, did you sleep well? No. So what do we think? But we were literally, khalas, we were almost going to do it, and we couldn't do it, and I'm glad we didn't, and then we were able to get through it, but it was a very heavy period, I think, for all of us.
All of us, especially when you have all these employees and you have to be paying huge amounts of money, and there's no operation.
And they're not employees. I mean, I used to be in banking. It's not like, oops, I'm going to fire, nothing, not that that's good, but I'm going to fire the investment banker. I mean, these guys are living well. These are people that are taking money to literally survive, giving to their families. So you feel a different kind of responsibility.
Exactly. And on the contrary, but you have also in our business, people who get paid very little as well.
100%.
لا يعني we stood there, we said it's okay, screw the company, excuse my language, we're gonna fight this, we're gonna pass this.
It's great.
Yeah,
it's a great story, very inspiring. Best of luck. Can't wait till we come visit your hotel soon.
Yeah. I want you to come see Sachi Almaza.
I'm going to come to Sachi Almaza for sure.
This summer.
This summer, Akid. And as I go into I'm like you, a big fan of boutique hotels. I'll take pictures and share them with you.
Please do.
So now we'll have a little chat on the side.
Please do. Please do.
Chat.
Please do. I'd love that.
Ayman, thank you again.
Thank you, Hashem.
Congrats
It was amazing.
On all your success.
And it was Mabruk Anta also, the lighthouse and the expansion that you did.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
It's
you very
amazing.
much. Thank you for joining us on the Lighthouse Conversations with me, Hashem Muntasir. We're produced by Chirag Desai, and our content director is Farah Al-Sharif. If you've enjoyed this episode, you'll probably like my conversation with Samer Hamada, a friend and Dubai-based entrepreneur who has also had a similar career path from nightlife to massive restaurant scale, but an entirely different personality. You can connect with us on Instagram at The Lighthouse_podcasts and listen to our previous episodes by visiting thelighthouse.ae/podcasts. We'll see you again in 2 weeks.